Then the next verse says, Abraham took the wood for the burnt offering and placed it on his son Isaac, and he himself carried the fire and the knife, as the two of them went on together. Isaac spoke up and said to his father, Abraham, Father. Abraham answered, He says, Yes, my son. Abraham replied, The fire and the wood are here, Isaac said, but where is the lamb for the burnt offering? So Isaac isn't dumb. He is wondering why there isn't an offering. If there's preparations for the offering, there should be an offering. So when Abraham hears this from his son's mouth, his heart must have been aching. And Abraham answered, God himself will provide the lamb for the burnt offering, my son. And the two of them went on together. So I found this interesting. Like I said before, he said, we will come back together. And here he says, God himself will provide the lamb for the burnt offering, my son. So Abraham knows that he has to sacrifice his son, of course, because that's what God instructed. But he also knows that through Isaac, many of his descendants will come. It is shown in Genesis 17:19. You turn there, it's just a couple of chapters behind. 17:19. It says, Then God said, Yes, but your wife Sarah will bear you a son, and you will call him Isaac, and I will establish my covenant with him as an everlasting covenant for his descendants after him. Okay? And then continuing with verse 9, it says, When they reached the place God had told him about, Abraham built an altar there and arranged the wood on it. He bound his son Isaac and laid him on the altar on top of the wood. See, we can't really comprehend it that much in this age, because we would think, oh, he would struggle. Like, he wouldn't let his father just tie him on the altar, but he is showing the same characteristics as Abraham. Here Isaac is. He is obeying his father, like how Abraham is obeying God. So I don't think he is rebelling. Yeah, I don't think he's fighting back. He's doing what his father is saying. And continuing at verse 10, he says, Then he reached out his hand and took the knife to slay his son. Before, when I read this, I thought, because, Abraham knows that Isaac is going to be his descendants. He knows God will provide. So what I thought of this verse was like, oh, he's like, God will stop it. I know he will provide. At that time. But that wasn't the case. He was going to kill Isaac, his son. If you go to Hebrews 11, let me turn there. And verse 17 to 19, it says, by faith, Abraham, when God tested him, offered Isaac as a sacrifice. He who had received the promises was about to sacrifice his one and only son, even though God had said to him, it is through Isaac that your offering will be reckoned. Abraham reasoned that God could raise the dead, and figuratively speaking, he did receive Isaac back from the dead. So he had faith that God would raise his son from the dead, if it was to be that case. Because he knows that through Isaac will come his descendants, as numerous as the stars in the sky and as countless as the sand on the seashore, because that's what the Lord has promised. And like I said, he had faith, and faith is defined, if you look on Hebrews 11, the same chapter, verse 1, it says, now faith is being sure of what we hope for and certain of what we do not see. So he knew that God would provide. And then let's turn back to Genesis 22, and we'll finish the rest of the verses 11 to 14. It says, but the angel of the Lord called out to him from heaven, Abraham, Abraham. Here I am, he replied. Do not lay a hand on the boy, he said. Do not do anything to him. Now I know that you fear God, because you have not withheld from me your son, your only son. Abraham looked up, and there in the thicket he saw a ram caught by its horns. He went over and took the ram and sacrificed it as a burnt offering instead of his son. So Abraham called that place, the Lord will provide. And to this day it is said, on the mountain of the Lord it will be provided. So like I said before, I believe throughout this whole trial that Abraham was in, Abraham was saying, God will provide. God will provide. So my encouragement for you and for myself is to keep on saying in times of trials that my Lord will provide, and that I will always rely on him. And the point of the story is that this story points to Jesus Christ. Abraham was willing to sacrifice his son, but God gave him mercy and grace, gave mercy and grace to him. Now for God's one and only Son, whom he loved, his beloved Son, he had to turn away when Jesus was being crucified and had to go through so much pain. So the Father was in so much pain, the Son was in so much pain, and Jesus had to go through all the mental, physical, and spiritual pains. And that's why we need to understand that great love, that God sacrificed his son for us, and his son was willing, his son was perfect, and he died instead of Isaac, who God gave mercy. He sacrificed his son. So I just hope this encouraged you, and thank you for listening. I pray that your growth in God will just increase even more, and that you will enjoy learning more about him. So see you next time. Bye.